How's it going, YouTube? Today, I have a very awesome deck list for you that I'm excited to share. This idea is actually submitted by one of our CSR supporters on our Patreon, so thank you so much to you for supporting our whole channel and us as we do, content for Grand Archive. So, as you can see, and you probably can tell why I'm excited about the deck, we are playing some Allen today. Or I should say we've been testing some Allen and refining this list a little bit. We are Spirit of Water. We're going into level 1 Sylvie, not Guajia. You can do that. There's just a little bit of anti-synergy from going from that into level 2 Allen because you don't get all the class bonus that comes with level 1 Guajia. So we're sticking with Sylvie level 1, which means we're going a little more beat down, run water. Self-mill, water, Sylvie has been a thing. Essentially, we're going to level 2 Allen so that we can get the class bonus of Alcahest, or not the class bonus, the level 4 condition of Alcahest. So Alcahest here, this is, regardless of this first portion right here about the age counters, the portion we care about is the level 4 destroy target item or weapon with memory cost 0 or reserve cost 4 or less. This allows us to get rid of Lantern, essentially. So that is essentially why we're here in the deck. Or why Allen is here. Also, we are playing some Melody and Harmony synergies because Allen, and I should say in the set, the most recent HVN set, we did get a lot more Melodies and Harmonies and a lot more like better ones that you actually want to play. So he's not as just level 2, just Glimpse 3. The Glimpse 3 is actually very, very cool in Self-Mill, which we are going to be a portion of our package today for a win condition. And Glimpse 3 is huge because you get to go to level 2, you Glimpse 3, even if you don't hit a Harmony or Melody, because we have Self-Mill, we're going to mill those cards. So we can actually set up the top of our deck to guarantee some good mills, and then go into our turn and hopefully, really get ahead in that manner. So we have a lot of basic stuff in here. Backup Charger, just for a draw. GCR, just for a draw. Liar is actually kind of cool. It kind of acts like a draw. I've always messed around with this card. You can ask my teammates Caven and Terry. I've tried putting Wild Liar into a lot of just random decks. In this deck, we actually, because we are Harmony Melody, we do actually sometimes are able to put a buff counter on a beast or ally we control because we do run some Melodies and Harmonies. So if we can use this to pay for those Melodies or Harmonies, we get a buff counter on a target ally or target animal or beast. And that's just really strong because if we're going to beat down and trying to, get board control, this helps us do so at a great advantage. So that's really cool. We're doing some basic stuff with Safeguard, Amulet, and Terraforming for some protection. We're actually doing Beast Bomb Boots as well because Water Fractals are is a scary deck, and having 2 different cards that allows us to protect ourselves from their game plan is really, really strong as well. Nullifying Mirror, just because wind can be annoying with Veiling Breeze, and we want to prevent that also. Cool against Luxem because we can play this, and when Luxem is level 3 and they go to reveal, before they go to reveal, we can use Nullifying Lantern, so we don't have to put any cards down off of their level 3 reveal. Then finally, Tideholder Claymore. It's nice that we have a main deck get rid of Lantern option in here with Alcahest. So Tideholder Claymore is just a really nice way to allow our champion just to swing for a lot of damage every single turn. So that is the material deck. Pretty simple stuff, nothing too crazy. I guess the craziest thing being Allen and Alcahest and maybe the Wild Heart Liar and I guess a couple things. But let's get into the main deck now. Geldus is the first card shown here. I love Geldus. You guys know I love Geldus. It is a very, very strong card, actually. And in this deck, it can even do more damage than it normally does, which is really cool. Doing something as simple as, going level 1, or going, on turn 1, playing like a Tidestone Bovine or Suicide Ringler or something, whatever we might play. And then if it's not dead, going turn 2 into a Geldus. Even though we're not getting anything special, we might be putting our whole hand down. This actually does have Taunt if we're level 1 Sylvie. So if we went to level 1 Sylvie and then went into Geldus, we were able to give it a buff counter. So it's a 6/9 Taunt that eventually, that will probably sit there on board. Dream Fairy is kind of in the meta, but honestly not that much, not like a crazy amount. So there's actually aren't too many decks that are playing stuff to get rid of a huge body like Geldus, which is really cool. Because once we get to level 2, it's all the more likely that we'll have an animal or beast on board to get to that level 4 condition so we can pop Alcahest if we need it. But yeah, we'll jump into some of the melodies and harmonies. I got kind of split up in here. There's only 10, which isn't a crazy amount, but we are in a self-mill deck, and so we will see a lot of cards of our deck. So it's not too crazy that we only have 10 in here. So one of them is Carp Song Coda, which is as harmonized. If you activate a melody card this turn, put the top 4 cards of your deck into your graveyard. That is a really cool thing if we can make that happen. Not necessarily going to happen all the time, but it is really, really cool. And then you deal an amount of damage. This is the main reason why it's in here, which is you deal an amount of damage to target unit equal to the highest life stat among water element, animal, and or beast cards in your graveyard and beast cards in your graveyard. So it is only choosing one. It's not going to do both, but we do run a 2 of Giant Tortoise, and we also have Rippleback. So we are probably going to usually use this for dealing 4 damage to a target unit. This could just go face, but sometimes we might be able to hit for 6. This honestly, it's only a 2 of because you don't really want to see these too much so late game, but honestly, as a turn 1 play, this is really, really strong. Same reason why we have a Geldus in here, where it'll probably just sit there on board because no one's going to waste 6 or more damage swinging into this Giant Tortoise. And if they're an aggro deck, that's just a lot of health that you just saved. So honestly, you're cool with it, and then it goes in the graveyard, and then Carp Song Coda is now hitting for 6. So there's just a lot of benefit there. We also could just mill it. That's the biggest thing. We can just mill it off the top of our deck, and that's pretty cool to see. So that way, Carp Song Coda is hitting for 6. The other melody we play is Resonating Fugue. I'm probably not saying that right at all. This is normally costs 4, costs 2 less if we're Tamer, which we are, and we switch the power and life stat of an animal or beast ally you control until the end of the turn. So the main ones, obviously, the big targets being Geldus, which will be swinging for 8 or 9 if we got the buff counter on it. Giant Tortoise, which would be 6 or 7 if we got a buff counter on it. And then probably mainly Rippleback Terrapin, which was, because of its effect, it's already probably going to be a 5 health. And we could be probably making a 6 health if it's the first animal or beast that we played on that turn with level 1 Sylvie. So again, a lot of damage with this as well that we can just push with a 2-cost card. And this one isn't based off a graveyard at all, so this is just giving us raw power in our main deck, allow us to push and play that beatdown plan if we need to. And that's really, really cool. And then we have a 2 of Song of Frost. You could go Song of Frost, honestly. You can go up to 3 or 4. Song of Frost has a lot of playability in the meta. If you're against the Luxem decks that are playing the new attack, the Illuminating Strike, this is really good with that if you time it properly. And it also can just literally be a free cost card on this deck because we are getting the Tamer class bonus. We've seen this card being played in a lot of other water decks just in general before. Not even in this meta, but before this meta, and people don't mind just paying the 2 cost for it because that's like an average cost for a negate. But sometimes we actually just get it for free if we have an extra float in memory or in our graveyard that we don't really care about. So that's really, really strong. So those are the 10 melodies and or harmonies that we play. I've mentioned some of the animals and beasts and just our allies in general. So we have the Geldus, we have the Giant Tortoise, the Rippleback, Seaside Ringleader, mainly just to have it be milled and then you get some stats later on. I can bump these up, any of these guys up in the Tides of Bovine as well, and by giving them buff counters and then allowing our Resonating to hit for more. And then we have, some general mill stuff. Fractal of Rain, Tidestone Bovine, and Primeval Ritual. We aren't going a crazy self-mill package because we are going like a beatdown plan, but getting any kind of self-mill is really good, obviously. And this can actually be a surprising amount. There's also Fractal of Polar Depths. Do not be afraid to use this to just mill yourself like 4 or 5 cards, which isn't insane, but 3 cost, mill 5 or 6 cards, maybe, which is not a hard number to hit with this. Doesn't sound like a lot, but I think almost everyone would be willing to play a card that was a 3 cost, mill yourself 6 cards. So you don't have to wait there and sit and try to get these massive numbers. Sometimes just getting a decent amount of float in the graveyard might just be enough for you to use Stratagem later on, which this is a 2 of in the deck. You could bump this up to a 3 of by getting rid of maybe going down on maybe one of the Melody Harmonies if you really don't want to play Geldus in there. I think actually Geldus is pretty good right now. Having just a giant body on board is actually kind of crazy, but it is only a 2 of because we don't get to use its effect until we are level 2 Allen and have another animal or beast ally on board. So, but yeah, and then the rest is just float. We got Chilling Touch, which is basically just float. Loss of Thought can be used for more than just float, which is really nice. If, we somehow just can't get rid of the lantern that might be on board, maybe it's Fracturized Lantern, we can use Lost in Thought and use a bunch of that float just to get a bunch of cards in hand, and then start going for board, right, with our Terrapins, our maybe Geldus, but with our Paladins, Ringleaders, and Bovines, or keep that float in there so we can just, go stratagem. That's basically the deck. Nothing too crazy. Fracturize, crazy good card. Refracting Missiles, it can hit for 2, 3, 4. Honestly, with all these cards, you can, like I said, go just Fractal of Polar Depths and Mill Plan if no one's playing. Some people are not playing Lantern, and if you ever notice that, then Fractal of Polar Depths and just going for the Mill Out plan can be huge. So that is why it's also in there as a 4 of. So. Like I said, that is a deck. Nothing too crazy, nothing insane from what we've seen before from other decks. Self-mill plan. It is going a little bit slower on the self-mill plan. Obviously, every deck is ever since Icebound Slam has been banned. So don't expect these crazy turns that are going to happen. But this is really, really solid. We are testing very similar decks, and this is honestly just an offshoot of that. And this has a decent amount of potential just to take games, because you're just going so heavy on board with these large statted health allies, and you're just getting so much value off of that. But yeah, that's the deck, so I hope to see you guys in the next one. Take care. Peace.